just an illusion.
Welcome to the Minute of Strength. Today we're going to discuss the 5 things you need to know to get started with rope training and ropes going wild. All right, first thing, number 1 question, how do I anchor my rope? Well, you can anchor your rope around a light post. You can anchor it if you're outside. You can anchor it around a fence post. The things to avoid, don't anchor it around something sharp. It's just rope. Most of our ropes that we sell have our Bulldog jacket on it. That sleeve is virtually bulletproof unless you put it on something jagged or sharp. It will rip. Okay, I'm going to say this again. If you put it around something jagged or sharp, like the edge of a piece of equipment in your gym or your studio, it will tear and rip. Now, if it does, that's why we have our Pimp Our Rope product. If you have a rope that you've bought in the past from anyone, send it back to us. We'll pimp it out. We'll put a sleeve on it, put some handles on it, and send it right back to you. All right. Second question, what size rope should I buy? Well, the size rope isn't relative to your abilities or inabilities. The size or length rope, let's talk about length first. The length rope has everything to do with space requirements or space you have available. So let's say you're doing this in your basement and you've got a basement that's 20 feet by 30 feet. Well, if you have a 30-foot full length to work out in, if you buy a 40-foot rope, you've got folded in half around an anchor is 20 feet. So you've got plenty of room. If you buy a 60-foot rope and you have a 30-foot space to work in, may not be a great idea. Okay, see where I'm going with this? If you're working out outside and you're not confined to a small space, I always recommend 40 to 50-foot ropes so that you can progress and always be challenged getting the undulation pattern, the wave pattern, all the way to the anchor. If you purchase a 30-foot rope, whether it be 1.5 inch or 2, and you're creating these undulation patterns and you feel like you're really progressing, you'll never have that barometer of, okay, where am I really at? You'll have to add too much time, because from the very, very beginning you'll be able to undulate right to the anchor, and you'll start to lay off. I see this all the time where people feel like that they're successful. They don't go harder, they don't go faster, and they don't go for any longer time. They just do the bare minimum, hitting the undulation pattern to the anchor. So if you had a 40, 50, or even 60-foot rope, and you're using it outside or in your gym, it will take you quite some time to really nail and master that undulation pattern. You'll have much more versatility with it, especially when you're doing overhead movements like jumping jacks. So again, the length rope has nothing to do with your ability or inability. If you're undulating a 60-foot rope and you can only undulate, and the 60-foot rope gives you 30 feet of length, and let's say you're only undulating the first third of the rope, so your undulation pattern is going about 10, maybe 12 feet down the rope. Your goal will be to undulate eventually all the way to the anchor. See where I'm going with that? So, it's a wonderful challenge, and it's a wonderful way to progress and see where you're at. All right, so that's how you choose your length. Okay, I always recommend, like I said, 40, 50, even 60-foot ropes to get started with. If you have a 60-foot rope and you only have enough space for a 20-foot length of space, tie a knot in one end. Just get the bulk of the rope and tie a knot in it, or wrap it around a pole a few times. Just shorten it up. You can do that as well. All right. Hope that one helps. All right. Third question we get all the time: should I buy a 1.5 inch thick or a 2 inch thick rope? The answer really is both. It would be like saying, should I buy a thick grip bar or a thin grip bar? Both. 2 different reasons for using them, and they're great progressions for each other. Okay, so if I had them sitting side by side, if I had a 2 inch rope sitting next to my 1.5 inch rope, I want that power. I want that big undulation pattern that takes an awful lot of exertion. So look at it, power and speed. So power I get out of my 2 inch rope. I immediately transition into my 1 inch rope, 1.5 inch rope. for speed. And again, this is not just in rope training, but this transfers over to life. So if you're a runner, if you're a cyclist, if you're any type of a sports enthusiast or an athlete, you'll see that power speed effect also on the field, and it transitions almost immediately. Using a 2-inch rope all the time, not a bad idea. Nothing wrong with it. Using a 1.5 inch rope is not a bad idea. The magic is to use both to gain more power and more speed. All right? So if I had to choose and say, okay, what should I start with? I would say the 2-inch, because that's going to build that foundation for you. And there are things that you can get speed out of. You can get speed out of a jump rope and things like that. But I would always start with a 2-inch before I got my second rope at 1.5. All right, so that's not a simple answer. Probably not the one you wanted. Most people like the path of least resistance, which is an 1.5 inch rope. That's not where the magic happens. All right, so I hope that one helps as well. Fourth question we get all the time: should I buy a Bulldog jacketed rope or a non-fray? This one's simple. If you use your rope indoors, exclusively indoors, there's no need to buy the jacket. If you have an anchoring system that is not sharp, which it shouldn't be, it doesn't have a jagged edge, which it shouldn't have, the non-fray rope will last quite a while in your gym with regular use, okay? I do not, and we do not recommend taking the non-fray rope outside on a surface like this, a cement surface or asphalt or pavement or anything like that. Gravel, even sand. Sand will get stuck inside the fibers and you'll never get it out, and you'll end up tracking sand and all this debris back into your gym. If you have multi-use at your camp, sometimes I'm indoors, sometimes I'm outdoors, I work out in the back of my gym, I would take it to the field, we go to the beach with it, no question, get the sleeve, because the sleeve can be used indoors as well. So if you're using it in both spaces, absolutely, without question, use it with the sleeve. You can get the sleeve wet, you can rinse it off, you can hose it down. It's fantastic. It won't absorb gravel and sand and things like that. It won't take it into the fibers, and it will last a heck of a lot longer in that case than the non-fray. All right. Last question. This is the big one, and this isn't really a question. This is advice from me to you. Proper use of the rope. Ropes Gone Wild now comes with the USB drive bracelet that will give you all of the basics that you need, everything that I just mentioned to you, as well as a bunch of exercises and different progressions and timing issues and just programming issues, things that you need to get started. That comes with every Ropes Gone Wild. The biggest thing you need to know and you need to remember is put slack in the rope. The anchoring point is not your friend. It's not helping you in this. You're actually hurting yourself by pulling on these ropes. People are actually getting injured. They're causing themselves harm by pulling on them, and they're not getting the benefit of the training. So I go so far with my clients as to not anchor the rope at all. If I find them pulling the rope, if I have to say it more than once, I take it away from the anchor and I just drop it on the ground and I have them undulate. And sometimes I'll put my foot on it, sometimes I'll take my foot off, so that if they start to pull, I'll let it break away and they'll realize that that's not the way to do it. Like training a puppy, same thing. You've got to break these habits. I've seen people undulate these ropes they're so taut, there's no movement at all. They're completely off the ground, there's no undulation, and it's sad because, this is a tool that can create phenomenal benefits for anyone that picks them up, whether it be cardiovascular, metabolic, athletic, strength and conditioning. Put slack and keep slack in the rope. Try, if you can, to not anchor it at all, to really see where you're at, all right? Hope all these tips help. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at mos@artofstrength.com, and we'll get you on the next meeting of strength and answer for you. Hope this did you guys well. See you next week.